So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amal Kasry. I am the Chief of Section of Basic Science and Engineering at the Natural Science Sector at UNESCO. I am very glad, actually, to host this session today with the WFEO, our partner. And we chose to talk about climate change in this session. As you all know, we are approaching the COP27 very soon, next month. And it is really a great opportunity to emphasize the importance of engineering in a big challenge like climate change. As you all know, climate change is one of the threats, of the greatest threats, actually, if not the greatest threats facing humanity nowadays. And we started to experience a higher frequency and intensity of natural disasters. This increased the spread of diseases, rising sea levels, among many other challenges and problems. Engineers play a very important role. They are actually the key players in climate change response, in responding to all these challenges. Engineers are responsible for designing and implementing the technologies that will help reduce greenhouse gas emission, for example. They will help to mitigate the impacts of climate change and also to adapt its consequences. It really becomes really important to ensure that engineering profession is given more prominence and enhanced with capacities. And for this, we are glad to host this session. The objective of this session is to expound on the ways in which engineering functions as a lever to achieve UNESCO's priorities in Africa and in SITS. And for this, I am really happy and very honored to have three eminent engineers. We have engineer Prayag Hemansingh. He is currently the president of the Institute of Engineers Mauritius. We also have Yetunde Holloway, who is currently the chairman of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. And we also have Soichiro Yasukawa, who is currently the chief of disaster risk reduction unit here at UNESCO. I would like to start by giving each of our guests 30 seconds, please, to introduce yourself. May I start with Yetunde, please?
Hello, everyone. I stand on the existing protocols. My name is Yetunde Holloway. I'm the chair of the Women in Engineering for the WFEO, as well as the Federation of African Engineering Organizations. Thank you. Is that fair?
Thank you very much, Raj.
I am Raj Prayag. I'm the president of the Institution of Engineers of Mauritius and also the president-elect of SAFEO, the Southern African Federation of Engineering Organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Soichiro?
Hi, my name is Soichiro Yasukawa. I'm a chair for the Disaster Risk Reduction Unit in HQ UNESCO. Thank you very much. But I also want to thank, in this opportunity, to thank WFEO to work with us, especially Jose Machare, to try to promote engineering for disaster risk reduction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Soichiro. I would like to start with Raj. And here I would like to speak about the effect of the pandemic. As you know, the pandemic has unearthed new vulnerable areas in Africa regarding the scientific and technological advances. What do you think? What are some concrete ways that engineers can help the communities in the African region in this area, specifically in the area of technologies?
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I have just traveled 9,500 kilometers to be here, so you will forgive me if I just put in a plug-in for my Institution of Engineers. It was created in 1948, so we are one of the first institutions in the world, well, as far as I know, and it's been going very strong. We are very autonomous, we are very independent. We have been working for the community, for the society. We want the best engineers to provide services to the community. And that has been our mantra ever since. We lobbied the government to come up with the registration board of Mauritius, the Council of Registered Professional Engineers. It was a private bill, and that is also the registration body is an independent autonomous body. And today our IEM, since 2017, has been working very, very hard, and we are very grateful to the WFEO, the UNESCO. You want me to come up there? Sure. Thank you very much indeed. So I've just plugged in our Institution of Engineers. We're working very hard. We want to be accredited as a member of the Washington Accord. We've been working ceaselessly from 2017. We have had the first visit of the evaluators, and we're going to have the second visit in January 2023. And we are very hopeful to be maybe get provisional status in June 2023. So because of the time constraint, I'm just going to take you straight to the question that our chairperson has just posed to us. What has been the issues regarding the question of the day? Okay, this is the pandemic had unearthed a host of issues. First of all, I think we were all caught off guard when we had this pandemic. Everything seemed to have stopped from 2020 to 2022. Even Mauritius, we only reopened Mauritius in June 2022. So there was a lack of planning, there was a lack of, it was something unforeseen that could not have been planned, that could not have been foreseen. And there was no contingency plan to deal with such a situation. And this, over and above the normal problems that we have in the third world, in the small island developing states, it compounded the problem. Climate change came and made things, when you put climate change on top of the issue that we already have, it made things even worse. So one of the problems that we have had in Eastern Africa that I know that we have been working for the last 22 years in Mauritius, infrastructure is a major hurdle. Communication is a major hurdle. And getting information to the public, to get them to hospitals, to get information to them, to get vaccine to them, was a major, major challenge for small island developing states, and also for the Eastern African countries. I think we have had a common problem. The vaccine also showcased the difficulties we have in accessing even aids from developed countries. We were lost in the queue. We couldn't compete at the outset of the pandemic. We couldn't compete to buy vaccines. By the time you buy the vaccines, you get it down there because of the refrigeration to keep the vaccines going. And a lot of vaccine, in fact, I'm sure you know about it, that ran out of use dates and could not be used to vaccinate people. However, one of the things that I think we all agree, and this is the idea of coming here, and we're working with UNESCO, we are bonding even closer with UNESCO, because the linking to all the problems we have had and going forward would be the challenges we have to meet regarding the education. How do we educate people? And we have been very fortunate in Mauritius. We already have some climate change issues incorporated in our curriculum, study curriculum in the primary and secondary schools. And with the help of WFEO, with UNESCO, we are going to build on it. We have had a workshop, we have had a project going, like it was mentioned by Dr. Kanga a bit earlier on, since 2019, which was put on hold because of the COVID. And we have had one workshop online, and the second one is coming up in November, this one. The other challenge is, I think, going forward, is we want engineers who can deal with problems of today and tomorrow. Okay, we want new variety, new kind of engineers. We want a education that are given to the engineers at the universities that are relevant to tomorrow's challenges. And one of the problems we have had since 2017, since we embarked on the project to embrace Washington Accord, has been the reticence of our universities to change work program, because the teachers, the lecturers, the professors have been people of the past generation, and they found it a challenge to adapt to new needs. So we need new challenge. To meet the new challenges, we need new programs. And that today, there is a lot of hand-holding that we are doing, and I would like to pay tribute here to EXA, Engineering Council of South Africa, and with the representative here for the mentoring IEM. I'm also very grateful to the Indians, the National Board of Accreditation of India, who is also helping us a lot with accreditation, and all being supervised and overseen by WFEO Educational Committee, chaired by me, Amal. And we are very grateful and thankful to these people. So Proactive planning, engineering, what we are doing, we also, Institution of Engineers are also making sure that the engineers who are coming out of universities are provided with 2 years of mentorship. We have got a scheme in Mauritius when you have done your 4-year full-time degree course, and then the Institution of Engineers takes over, and we place the people under the supervision of experienced engineers to be able to undergo a 5-pronged training program so that by the time they come out, they are proficient and they're experienced enough to be able to practice and to register to practice in Mauritius. One of the other challenges that we have found is land use planning in a small island like ours in Mauritius. It's a small island state. There's a lot of pressure on land. Land has got very high value, especially in coastal areas where people want to build hotels and things. Despite the sea level rise, despite the salination of the coastal areas, there is a lot of challenges, lots of pressure, because government, they are aware of climate change, they are aware of the impact of environment, but they are also at the same time trying to balance the book, look at the economies of the countries. The thing is, we have whatever it takes to produce renewable energies. In Mauritius, now at the moment, we're producing about 30% of renewable already from sugarcane bagasse, from some solar facilities that we are installing. We've got huge, about 30% of the energy we're using at the moment are renewable energy coming from sugarcane bagasse and the sun. And there's a lot of potential for developing it. Obviously, we're working on it. And there are much more we are going to put a little more projects together so that we can, by 2030, we are planning to be 60% self-sufficient in energy, green energy, that is. The floodplains, talking of coastal regions and coastal plains, the coastal region used to act like a treatment plant, natural treatment plant, when the nutrients coming out from the sugarcane plantation would go through these floodplains where the nutrients will be removed by grass, etc., before they go to the sea. All these things are in danger, and we, Institution of Engineers, we're trying to raise a lot of concern. And the last thing I want to just add to because we have been given 5 minutes to talk, is we have got a lot of credibility because we're independent, we're autonomous, we speak. And when we speak in Mauritius, we speak with sincerity and with facts and figures to convince the population at large, but also the government are beginning to listen, which is a good thing because they are appointing us, they're consulting us, we're on lots of advisory boards. So when the projects come up, in the impact assessment process, we have got a voice in saying what the impacts might be of the projects. The other good thing is we have had cyclones since I was a baby, so we have got a very robust warning system, and now we have got systems, warning system for tsunamis, for floodings, etc. So this is from the perspective of a small island state. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raj, for answering the question. Now I would like to ask Yetunde, please. We all heard today about the engineering report that was issued last year by UNESCO in collaboration with WFEO, and this report highlighted that engineering itself needs a transformation to be more innovative, inclusive, cooperative, and responsible. So I would like to ask you, please, in your view, what are the examples of transformation required in terms of gender equality and African region?
Thank you, Amal. In terms of transformative initiatives that should be taken in Africa, they're quite, I have only 5 minutes, so I have to be careful with that. But there's so many. One of the major ones is internet penetration. But I won't talk about that. today. I'll talk about something that we've kept on hearing here today. I'll talk about climate change, which we need to look at in Africa, and what the little that we have contributed to making a difference in climate change. It's an area that needs urgent transformation in Africa, and COVID met climate change and just caused a regress of the progress that has already been made. The women and children are disproportionately affected by climate change, and there's a need for, and of course, a lot of Nigeria in climate change, SDG 5, which is gender equality. None of the SDGs can actually be achieved without SDG 5. But climate change, back to climate change. So so climate change in Africa has displaced about 13 million people. About 82 million homes are destroyed. Even now, the images on the internet are distressing, and about 110 hectares of farmland have been destroyed. So on the International Day of the Girl Child, we had a climate change initiative. Its intent is to increase capacity building, create awareness, and stimulate interest in climate change in young children. It was a STEAM project, science, technology, engineering, art, and maths, and certainly encourages critical thinking. From the results and the outcomes, we saw that critical thinking was encouraged. We had two categories, ages 6 to 8 and 9 to 11. It took place on the 13th of October. After that, the older women now had a virtual panel discussion, and they also identified issues, the better land use issues, planning, conservation, wetland areas, green belts, renewables, and carbon, and all that. But with this, with our competition, we had in mind that our children are the future. The grading was based on relevance, creativity, originality, interpretation, quality of work, color and tone, and overall impression. Now, the competition was hosted by the Federation of African Engineering Organizations, the Women Engineering Committee. And we had about 22 contestants. Last year was the maiden edition. We had just 8 across Africa. This year, the number increased about 22, including some young boys who felt they wanted to join us, which was fine. And some of the suggestions by the children are to be taken seriously. They certainly spoke about clearing of drains and waterways. They spoke. One of them that was particularly interesting was one of the children who said the dustbins should be labeled more creatively and more colorfully to attract children to obey the climate rule, to dispose of refuse properly. Now we're taking the initiative forward because we've submitted a framework for the Young Climate Change Academy to the Nigerian Society of Engineers. My president is represented here today by the deputy president, and they've supported us all along. And we're having a climate change academy for the winners of the competitions, and we are going to launch it in November next month during the African Engineering Week, along with which is being supported by WFEO as well. And next year we'll play it forward. Invite boys to participate fully in the competition. We'll have more categories, and also older children who will do essay competitions and things like that. So is my 5 minutes up? 2 minutes. Okay, then let me see if there's anything else. So we invite UNESCO to partner in this initiative. It's because we're looking at the future engineers, and we want partners in this initiative. Going further, because I have 2 minutes left, something I spoke about yesterday, but I have a few minutes. We had judges from Malaysia, Nigeria, and Cameroon for the event, and was sponsored by private companies across Africa. So one other thing that I needed to say is that will also cause transformation in Africa is the need to have disaggregated statistical indicators in engineering, because with that we can inform policy, we can show the figures, engineering figures, and hopefully this will be taken into consideration. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Yetunde, for explaining this very interesting initiative. And now I would move to Soichiro, please. So, Soichiro, I would like to ask you about as an engineer, about the small island developing states. So, as we all know, these countries are often face specific challenges because of their small geographical areas, isolation and exposure, which threaten the island livelihood, resources, cultures, and also societies. So, how do you think can engineers help to build resilience for such countries to overcome these challenges, and especially related to climate change? As you want. You can answer from there.
Thank you very much, Amal. Maybe I start from several facts, because 2022 already, many disasters happened in small islands. For example, September, October in Caribbean seas, there were strong hurricanes, Iona, Fiona, and Julia hit, I think, many countries, many small islands in the Caribbean island. And also, January 2022, there was a tsunami which hit Tonga, which was actually caused by volcano. And volcanoes wave shock, which was one of the first tsunami which was recorded, which was caused by volcano. And also, yes, and I think August 2021, there was a big earthquake after 11 years in Haiti. And there is a statistics that economic loss by disaster is on average is about 17%, 17% of GDP in small island countries, compared to 3% in developed countries. I don't know the reason behind it. Maybe it is more exposed to the hazards, or maybe they are not well prepared. I don't know the reason, but if you look at the numbers, it is clear that the small islands are very vulnerable to natural hazards. But engineers, yes, as an engineering background, I would say that, yes, scientists can help us to understand the phenomena about seismologies or volcano or climate, but the engineers can provide the solutions, engineering solutions. So, yes, we already have a lot of solutions, like civil engineers for building code, or environment engineering for nature-based solutions, or hydrological engineering for flood risk mapping, or ocean engineering for understanding the behavior of the sea. So there are many solutions and trials. Even though there are many solutions, trials by engineering, there are many engineering solutions and innovative solutions. So in my intervention, I would like to try to twist the angle how to discuss how can we contribute even better to disaster risk reduction by engineering. So first one, I would like to talk about policies. I think it is very important that engineering findings or engineering information should be translated into policies or regulations, because if it is only kept in the engineering communities, it will never be practiced, or it will never be mainstreamed in the national policies. For example, civil engineering, yes, they are talking about how to construct a safer building, but it should be translated into a building code. And in terms of policies, we also need to look at the policy carefully, because there is some bottleneck to use engineering. I just recently discussed with one of the countries about nature-based solutions, because this country is trying to use a nature-based solution as an alternative solutions for building public works. But they found that in a tendering format, because in order to do a public works, you need to look for the contractors for the best prices. But in this country, in the format of the tendering, there was no checklist for the nature-based solutions, which means that from the beginning with, they cannot use this nature-based solution, which can be used in many countries using environmental engineering. So policies, I think we need to look at very carefully to influence the policymakers to use engineering. And at the same time, we need to look at the regulation, how it incorporates engineering. So this is the first thing I wanted to convey. And the second one is about because this policy applies to everything, everyone, not only in these small island countries, but everywhere in the world. But I think for the second, third points I want to raise is maybe specific to small countries, because I think one of the characteristics of small islands is the size of the populations. Due to the small size of the populations, we have a limitation for the policymakers, engineering, or experts. So that we cannot make a critical mass of experts to work on disaster risk reduction or using engineering. So in order to, so many countries, not only in small islands, but small countries in general, they face these challenges of the critical mass of experts. So one of the things we could propose here is about institutional corporations. No, I don't want to specify the country, but for example, in a volcano, because a volcano monitoring requires a lot of investment. You need to check the seismicity, you need to check the GPS monitoring, and also chemical gas emissions. So it requires a lot of investment. But in case of Mexico, they decided to separate the government. No, they decided to work together with the government and academics. Normally, national institutions try to do everything, monitoring and alerting. But Mexico, they decide to fully count on the universities to do the monitoring, and then government will issue alert, etc. So I think in the small countries, I think this could be also a solution how we can take care of the challenges of the small islands facing. And the last one, I have several, but I think we don't have time, so I finished this with this last one. Last one is about continuous professional development. I think we had an engineering report, and I tried to push CPD in this chapter because I think many of the engineers are working in the companies, and I think once they start in the company, they only work on their own project. They stop to learn. They only focus on what they are doing. But I think it is important for the engineers, not only the engineers, but scientists in general, to have a broader view of what is happening in engineering or science. So several countries have like a CPD program to encourage engineers to keep learning by themselves. I think this is an important topic, I guess, especially for small islands where there are less experts in general. So I think these are the things I would like to convey. And yes, I think these things, these policies or institutional collaboration or CPD, we need to have a good communication with the policymakers. And UNESCO has been helping countries or engineers to collaborate with policymakers and engineering. So we have several projects using engineering. Maybe I just finished showcasing some of the projects which we do right now. We have a project in Haiti to train the masons, local masons in Haiti, to construct safer buildings, because in many countries the communities build their own houses and they collapse in the earthquake. So we try to train the local masons with the government and with the engineering associations to construct a safe building. this is not necessarily engineering, but we have a project in Dominican Republic which uses artificial intelligence to support the decision making. Because whenever there is a disaster, always a disruption of educations. So we try to use artificial intelligence to make a best distribution of the budget, infrastructure or school buildings, or which school to be a shelter, or which school to continue educations. So this is in the Dominican Republic. And we just started a new project in Caribbean small islands about hurricane. This is not necessarily engineering, but this is more like a risk communications. Because many countries, when there is a hurricane, even though there is a good alerting system, but people don't evacuate. So we try to influence the behavior of the people so that when they receive an alert, they evacuate. Yes, we also have a tryout to do something in African small islands, but I see Amal looking at me, so I stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Soichiro, for explaining this interesting work in the six countries. And I would like to thank all the panelists for answering these questions and for giving us ideas about how engineers can help in the field of climate change and responding to the challenges related to climate change. Thank you very much. So please join me thanking the panelists. So as you can see in the agenda, we are supposed to have a session of 15 minutes for questions and answers, for responding to some questions. As you can see also, we are also running out of time, so maybe we can have like 5 minutes, so we can take maybe up to 3 questions with brief answers, please, if I may. And for that, maybe the panelists I would like to also invite, please, Jose and Konki for joining the panelists here, maybe to respond to some questions, if you, please. Yes, please. And Marlene as well, of course. So, as I said, maybe we can take something like 3 questions. And we start by, and I would like to ask people, please, to introduce themselves, please. Yes? Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. My name is Ambassador Helen Gishuhi. I'm the Deputy Permanent Delegate of Kenya to UNESCO. I want to thank you very much for having invited us for this very interesting presentation. I'm not an engineer by profession, I'm a diplomat, but I found it very interesting, and you used simple language which we were able to follow. Having said that, we had a very interesting presentation by Dr. Kanga. And I also recognize that gender and Africa remain global priorities of UNESCO. I saw many linkages with what UNESCO is doing, such as open science and the GoSpin, which encourages young girls to go into engineering, and we welcome such linkages. However, I noted that Africa and a larger part of Southern America was gray in the map that was presented to us. And when Africa was being explained, there were 3 little dots. I didn't understand what this meant. Maybe the engineers did. I don't know if this means there are no engineers in Africa, if it means the program is not in Africa. So my first question is, what efforts are being made to more actively involve Africa and Southern America to change the color of representation and to include more women in the process, being that those are the 2 priorities of UNESCO? My second question is to the last panelists. The distinguished, the first 2 distinguished panelists tried to connect engineering, COVID, Africa, and climate change. I found the linkage with COVID rather far-reaching, because COVID was not just in Africa. COVID was all over the world. So if we were going to talk about COVID, we needed to speak about COVID a bit more inclusively. It made it look as though Africa was the only continent that had COVID, and that is not correct. We needed to be able to then have a more inclusive presentation, because I believe that some of the issues that were being mentioned as having affected Africa were also in the other continents. I think for presentations which are inclusive and which are to a population which might not understand other preceding presentations, you might want to be a bit more inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, Marlene.
Yes, thank you, Madam Ambassador, for your question on the gray areas in my map and the need for more engineers. Absolutely, we are absolutely dedicated to that project in capacity building. You saw that in the Engineering 2030 plan, and the projects that we're doing in partnership with our other peer international engineering organizations are intended to address that gap in Africa, Latin America, and in Asia. The 3 dots, I did mention briefly, but maybe I was too quick. There's the 3 areas in the south of Africa, east and west, where we are initiating projects for supporting our members to get to the international benchmarks in engineering education. And our thinking is a hub and spoke model where these centers can be centers of excellence that can support their neighbors in the region. So we have a hub and spoke model where the regions developed it. So that's why it's south, east, and west, and we're making the most of our resources. But we're also talking to our members in other parts of the world, and resources permitted, we're going to expand into other regions, because this is a global project. And quickly, in terms of diversity, I want to say that it's very, very important. For World Engineering Day, Professor Gonki mentioned we reached 56 million. 80% of those that we engaged with were aged below 35 years, and more than 1/3, in fact 35%, were women. And women in particular stepped up. Somehow World Engineering Day and the social media seem to give women, in particular women engineers, a platform to showcase their work without any barriers, and we were just delighted to see that, and we hope that that grows as well, because we're absolutely committed to greater diversity. Thank you.
And maybe Raj can answer the second question. Thank you.
Yes, Your Excellency, when I mentioned COVID for Mauritius, obviously everybody knows COVID is global. It was global, it affected everybody, but my presentation was dislocated by the fact that I came all this way to make a presentation. I was told to make it in 4 or 5 minutes. So I shortcut the presentation. It was an issue in Mauritius. It was an issue in Africa because we were last in the queue to get the vaccines. It was a major problem, even in Mauritius with all the facilities we have. Lots of vaccines that we got in the end were unusable. That was an issue for us. Mm-hmm. So I had to speak about it. It did affect the opening of my country in Mauritius. We only opened Mauritius on 30th of June 2022. It was locked down for 2 years. Nobody could travel, nobody could do anything. So it had a tremendous impact on the development of Mauritius. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if infrastructures are better, if we were better engineers, there was better communication, we were better prepared, obviously we would have dealt with the situation in a better way. It's regretful, but that was the case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for the question, and thank you for the panelists. Perhaps one more question? No, everything was clear, so thank you so much. And now I would like to invite the President-elect of WFEO, Engineer Mustafa Shehu, to close this event. Please.
Sorry.
So the whole table is for me. Let me thank the leadership of UNESCO, the President, Joseph Vieira, immediate past President, Professor Gonke, past President Malin Kanga, our delegates from UNESCO, international members, leaders of our international organizations, as well as national members here present. But I think before I make the formal closing, I want to use the opportunity to make some announcements and possibly call some people to make a few presentations. We have before us the World Engineering Day we are going to celebrate in Madrid, Spain. And I think in an opportunity like this, that needs to be announced so that people will put it in their schedules and plan to be there. I'm not sure whether our national member from Madrid is around, but okay, I will invite you to, I will give you 2 minutes out of my 15 minutes. Yes. I also have with us the national member from Czech Republic, Daniel Hanus. He's going to make a small presentation for us regarding the 2023 World Engineering Convention that will take place in October 2023. And having spoken about engineering capacity building, engineering education, I think it will not be out of place if we also invite the chairman of the Capacity Building Committee, Engineer Manuhwa, to tell us a little about the progress he has made in the last 2 years in capacity building, because we cannot achieve all this with UNESCO without capacity building. So I want to invite these 3 gentlemen. I will give them 3 minutes out of my 15 minutes because I'm a generous person. Yeah. And maybe Manuhwa, can you start? Please, can you come just to give us a little about...
Thank you for your generosity. I'll eat into your 15 minutes. Your Excellencies, President of WFEO, past presidents, members of council, I'm so happy about UNESCO and WFEO working together to build capacity in the world. And the gray map area really disturbed us. It's gray because we are not talking to each other. It's gray because mobility is not given enough capacity. It's gray because only one country in Africa is a member of the International Engineering Alliance, South Africa, and that is said out of 55 countries. It's not because the other countries are not able to be members. They are perfectly able. And the capacity that we are building, I thank the Engineering Education Committee and also the capacity building. But we have been doing a lot of work that we will announce with FAIRP, the Federation of African Engineering Organizations. We have signed an agreement to build capacity. And we have been supported by CAST, the Chinese academy, the Chinese national member to WFEO, with a lot of training going on every month. And this is also online, and we recently held a conference in Victoria Falls where UNESCO sponsored the young engineers and also the water training. And I also want to thank Phil in your time and say, may you plead to the WFEO leaders that you are not future leaders, you are leaders of now. And I would probably ask kindly that you are young engineers and leaders. So you think about it, and my president say, young people are our leaders, and I think we'll think about it. So thank you very much. We are also working on the Science Forum in South Africa. And I'm grateful if the South African delegation is here, that their Minister Nsimante is, Honorable Nsimante is invited WFEO to be there, and the Capacity Building Committee will be there with the rest of the world. We are also in Ethiopia from the 7th of November to the 11th on the World Engineering Week, a partnership between WFEO, my president, President Jose, you are expected to be in Ethiopia, in Addis, at the Africa Union Center, to talk about the great work that WFEO is doing. And we are also in Rwanda in January. All this is our efforts to build capacity in Africa, and I'm afraid we are not given enough space to talk about our work. But thanks for your 3 minutes. We were told by our elders, if you want to go far, go together with other people. If you want to go fast, you go alone. And I think as African representative, through my president, whom I called this morning, Kalien, we would like to thank WFEO for all the support they are giving to us. And we are working very hard, and we hope to meet again in the world, in the Africa Engineering Week next year, possibly in Angola. And it will be a very big dream for Jose to come again and grace us. Thank you. I took 1 minute more, but my apologies.
Can we invite our colleague from Madrid, Spain? Please, you can.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. For a Spanish person to talk 2 minutes is almost impossible, but I'll try to do my best. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon to all. From February 28th to March 4th, the Engineering Institute of Spain is going to host an event, 3 events in Madrid. The first will be the extended WFEO Executive Council. The second one, a 2-day conference on engineering the cities of the future, and also the World Engineering Day 2023. At the conference, and from an engineering perspective or point of view, we are going to talk about sustainability and demographic challenges of the future cities, mobility and communication, water, energy, and risk management, and also we will address gender issues on future cities. We will also have a program for those who think that engineering is boring, and believe me that Madrid is the right place to be. We are all inviting you to assist, and I hope to see you next year, okay? And next year, we'll give you more than 2 minutes, okay, at the conference.
Well. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Daniel Hanus, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
I can give you a minute more than the others.
Oh, thank you, Mustafa. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and dear friends, it's a real pleasure and honor for me to be here and to have an opportunity to present our next flagship. It's a flagship of WFEO, and I am really proud that I can do something for a success of this event. I must go to. There are only 3 slides, so nevertheless. Well, this event is the 7th World Engineers Congress, which will be held in Prague in October next year. And the theme of this convention is Engineering for Life, Breakthrough Technologies and Capacity Development, focused on SDGs. We organized this event in collaboration with WFEO. I am representing the host, which is the Czech Association of Scientific and Technical Societies. I serve as a president up to now, And we have already received patronage from UNESCO, Madame Azoulay, and also from the Czech government. The event is conceived like a conference, and there is also a WFEO General Assembly meetings together. So I would like cordially invite you all to come to Prague. I'm sure that I will see you in Prague, and I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Well, I know, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I know our time is fast spent, but that notwithstanding, I have to really thank, profoundly all the presenters that have been able to make these presentations this afternoon. We had very good presentations, and we had also the challenges brought about, through this presentation, especially the issue brought about by our UNESCO representatives on the issue of 2 billion people without access to water. This is a huge challenge to UNESCO. This is a very huge challenge to the engineering family. And I think it is high time we put our heads together to walk the talk. We have been talking a lot of talks are going on in so many fora about meeting these challenges of deficit in terms of access to water supply, in terms of access to electricity supply, in terms of access to sanitation. But then we, as engineers, the world is looking at us for solutions. So, and I think the union between the UNESCO and the WFEO is such that it's a formidable team that can really address these challenges. And I'm also very happy with the milestones that have been, recorded as a result of this collaboration between UNESCO and WFEO. It has been highlighted by Professor Joseph Vera, and it has been highlighted more clearly by Professor Gonka. 2015, a lot of things has happened in terms of identifying the UN 2030 agenda, 2018 initiation of the World Engineering Day, 2019 the official declaration or approval of the World Engineering Day, and 2020 the first celebration of the World Engineering Day. So you see, every year these things we are recording a lot of progress, and for me that is for somebody like me who is expected to take over the leadership of the Federation, it means I cannot afford to water down this momentum. And all the other people who are here also, it is our responsibility to see that this momentum is not only maintained, but strengthened in the years ahead. So as we have a lot of challenges to meet, we really have to be determined to meet these challenges. And on my own part, we really have to do our best. And I believe the support everybody has given, Professor Gwanke, Malenkanga, and Professor Vera, similar supports will be given to people who are taking over the leadership of WFEO, and even people who are taking over after me. So please, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me use this opportunity to solicit your support and cooperation. And for UNESCO, we want this collaboration to grow, to work stronger in the years ahead, not only in one region of the world, but globally. I'm glad some of the UNESCO ambassadors are here with us. And for those who are not here with us, we have to develop the communique of this particular meeting to make sure that all our UNESCO representatives, have the outcome of this particular deliberation, so that there has to be a plan of action and all the resolutions taken and the challenges identified also, we have to make sure that we work towards achieving those challenges. With these few words, I want to once again thank everyone for attending this particular program, and I wish you well. Thank you.